Welcome, folks, to Junior and Junior live here on the Dogs Maniac Entertainment YouTube channel. I am your host, Jared Running Jr., joined by.
Dale Summerfield Jr.
All right, guys, we got a show for you, a stack show. We got to talk about the World Baseball Classic, the pool winners, the quarterfinals, both those that have already happened and those that are now set after last night. Then we'll talk about some college hockey, both the men's conference finals and the women's Frozen Four. We'll pivot that into our Final Four predictions for both the men and women in college basketball and close off the show with a review of Taylor Swift's Midnight's 3 a.m. edition, Jared's version. All right, guys, let's get right into this with some World Baseball Classic talk. So, Dale, Japan coming out of their pool, that was obviously expected. Um, Cruising on their way to the semifinals. I think that's a easy projection that we saw last week that everyone saw coming. What do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, I think with how Japan played baseball, they are the scariest team and they are the team to beat. If you want to advance into the championship in the WBC, or if you want to win that WBC title, you're going to have to at least have Japan lose one game. And as of right now, I don't see Japan losing a game. It could possibly happen later on, but right now, if you're in a position, say if Team USA gets there, Team Mexico gets there, or some other team gets there, and they are in the position where they need a win, you need Team Japan to lose. You either need to beat Team Japan yourself, or you got to pray that somebody else beats them for you.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Japan defeating Italy 9-3 this morning to advance to the semifinals. Uh, Italy was the runner-up out of Pool A. Japan, of course, winner of Pool B. On the other side of the bracket, we'll get to the who will meet Japan in the semifinals in a second because those are two teams that qualified last night. But on the other side, you had the Pool B runner-up Australia to Japan, losing to the Pool A winner Cuba. Cuba moving on with a 4-3 victory over Australia. They're in the semifinals. We kind of called Cuba dead in the water.
Yeah, your dad was saying yesterday, so shout out to Running Senior. Um, he's like, don't count Cuba out, and right now I'm not counting Cuba out. Like, I still don't think they will win, but I expect them to go very far in this WBC. And yeah, they are like Japan. They are another team to beat, but they can get a cold streak. They they have the ability to go on a cold streak. So, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I think both of us will be cheering for Cuba to go on a cold streak there, as they will be facing the winner of Pool D winner Venezuela and Pool C runner up the United States of America. Venezuela winning Pool D in a runaway. Pool C, the U.S. finding their way into the quarterfinals with a victory over Colombia 3-2 last night. All three runs coming off of the bat of Michael Trout. Mike Trout finally getting electric. That's what you want to see if you're the United States going into a quarterfinal matchup with Venezuela. So I'm picking the U.S. in that, obviously. Let's go, United States.
What was Venezuela's record? Like, when did they go in their pool? Were they undefeated, or were they 2-1, or?
I believe Venezuela was undefeated.
Okay.
I believe. Okay, don't quote me.
Well,
Not.
obviously, I am taking Team USA. I mean, as an American, you almost got it at this point. But Venezuela is a tough team. In order for Team USA to win the quarterfinals and advance, they need to get to Venezuela early. They need their hitting, and obviously, when they lost to Team Mexico, they didn't have JT Realmuto in. They didn't have Trey Turner in.
Kyle
So if
Schwarber, yeah.
yeah, so I know you have a little bit to talk about there, but if they put in the not to hate on anybody, it's always an amazing thing representing your country at one of the biggest stages. But if you put in the guys that can produce, such as Rio Murito, such as Turner, I think you'll find very great success. But you need to make sure those guys are healthy. You need to make sure that they have enough energy and just play them and hope what happens. Because once they play them, look how much they smoked Team Canada by.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, as Mark DeRosa said, once you get to the quarterfinals, you got to put the best lineup out on the field. You can't worry about what the teams think, about who they want you to get time for. You can't worry about if they're well rested. You just got to put the best team out there on the field and try and win. Because right now it's win or go home, and I think the United States understands that. I think Venezuela understands that. Um, Really, it'll be interesting to see who takes the mound for each team. The U.S.'s probably biggest fall would be the fact that they don't have quality pitching. They got that quality um, lineup bench, but they just can't find pitching. That's how it seems with them. Wainwright, of course, starting game one against Great Britain, and he was a guy that we're talking about retiring last year. Why is he on a World Baseball Classic team?
Yeah, and two, like, it's kind of strange to think, like, well, it seems like I'm trying to think. There's very few teams that have both. I mean, Puerto Rico might be the team that has both strength, that pitching strength, that hitting. Japan, Shohei,
Mm-hmm.
but there are other teams like Mexico. I believe they're a good hitting squad, but they're like Team USA. They don't have pitching. They're good, but it seems like most of these teams they're either pitching heavy or they're hitting heavy, and they're not both. And you need to find a way in order to kind of level it with both, so you're able to succeed and win.
Well,
But like but oh, sorry, but if like Team USA, if they can get hot, like if they can get Wainwright hot, like they're set.
yeah. Well, speaking of Mexico and Puerto Rico pitching, Julio Urias going to take the mound from Mexico as they're going to match up with Puerto Rico and Mexico. Um, the winner out of Pool C there, um, by way of the head-to-head tiebreaker with the United States because of their victory. And then you got Pool D runner-up Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico defeating the Dominican Republic last night. News came out that obviously Edwin Diaz having to be helped off the field. He will be out for the entire season, not just the WBC, the entire MLB season. That's a big loss there for Puerto Rico as they go to battle with Mexico tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't like about the WBC. It's like, I mean, yeah, spring training it can happen too, but it's like putting if you were to put the Olympics, basketball Olympics in the winter during basketball season, and you had all these guys, like, I mean, I love the WBC, but at times it sucks because, like, if you give up guys and they end up getting hurt, then that kind of screws you over. For like the Mets, they just lost their closer for the entire year. Like, I mean, stuff happens. It sucks, but like, it's like comes to a time. It's like, do these players, do these all stars or these star players like Mike Trout and all these guys scale back and say, hey, do we really want to risk getting hurt doing the WBC that could hurt our 162 game season? So do they kind of start at a time where they have either minor league players or lower level MLB players take the place of like the major stars? I don't know, but like I just feel like if you're an MLB team, everybody's going to be worried about your players, like Francisco Lindor, Julio Rodriguez. Like, these guys get hurt. Shohei even. Like these guys get hurt and they're out for a long time. That screws your season because you're expecting them to play.
Yeah, well, as Puerto Rico manager Yadier Molina, who would know better than anybody about the World Baseball Classic, as a member of Puerto Rico in past years, recently retired this offseason. Puerto Rico manager Yadier Molina had to say on the Edwin Diaz injury, injuries are going to happen. You could be in your home and you could get hurt doing whatever you're doing. It's part of baseball injuries. This tournament is for us, it means a lot, to play for your country. Um, and that seems to be the overlying message here with the Edwin Diaz injury. Venezuela's manager said pretty much the exact same thing, that injuries are going to happen. They can happen at any point. They can happen in any game. It's you can't change the way things are done because it means a lot to these players to be able to represent the nation on their chest. Look at Nelson Cruz representing the Dominican Republic still. Look at Shohei. I'm sure it means a lot to him to go back to Japan and represent Japan. Mike Trout getting to wear the USA on his chest. Bryce Harper, one that had to miss because of Tommy John surgery on his elbow. But he's made it very clear how he wants to be a part of the Olympics. Even hoping that the MLB can make that work. Or like this year where he was going to play on the World Baseball Classic team, but injuries just prevented it. For him, it means a lot to have that opportunity to play for the United States. And I think that you're going to get a lot of pushback from the players if you tell them now you're not allowed to go because Edwin Diaz happened to get injured. And, I mean, yeah, it sounds bad to say it's a season-ending injury, but it's a freak accident. How often are we going to see a guy go down for the entire season? And really, think about it like how it happened. It didn't even happen because of anything he did as a player. It happened because he jumped up and celebrated a victory. And really, if there's anything people have to take out of this, if they want to change anything, it's tone it down a bit on the celebration.
Yeah. I think players now, if you win in a round or something, and instead of celebrating like what Puerto Rico celebrated, like tone it down, like because like what you were saying, it can and Yadier Molina was saying like it can happen anywhere, anything can happen. It's part of the game, but if you truly want to prevent injury, tone it down.
Mm-hmm. No reason, no reason you can't hug each other. You can't have a little fun, but maybe don't jump out of your cleats, or something like that. Just being a little more careful. And shame for Edwin Diaz that he goes down for the season. But Puerto Rico's gonna have to regroup now. They got to regroup quick because they got to meet Mexico, and they're gonna have to figure out if they're in a position to close the game out, who's taking the ball.
Yep.
But really, I believe in them. I think Puerto Rico's a strong team. I think Mexico's a strong team. I think that's going to be a fun matchup to see who advances and who draws Japan in the semifinals. Would hate to be them. So I'm going to say there. So yeah, we got Cuba and Japan through, and we got the U.S. versus Venezuela and Mexico versus Puerto Rico to look forward to in the WBC. We will update you guys next week. All right, and with that, we will move on to college hockey, folks. We're going to try and make this pretty quick, not as long as the usual college hockey talk. But basically, in the men's side, we got the conference tourneys wrapping up. We'll go through those really quick, and we'll maybe go a little more in depth with the women's Frozen Four. On the NCHC advancing out of the quarterfinals, we had number 1 Denver, number 4 St. Cloud State, number 7 Colorado College, and number 6 North Dakota. Denver, Colorado College matching up. Denver's going to win. 4 St. Cloud versus 6 North Dakota. I don't think St. Cloud's that strong of a hockey team. I'm going to be honest, they're very overrated. I think North Dakota gets it done. I think we get a Denver-North Dakota final, and I think Denver wins it. Yeah. Sound about right, Dale?
Yep, sounds about accurate.
All right, Atlantic hockey. We got number 4 Canisius versus number 7 Holy Cross. Number 1, are they here? No. Number 2, number 3, Atlantic upsets galore. Number 4, number 7 meeting, and I'm gonna roll with Canisius. I've rolled with them every time before. Number 1 and number 2 in the Big Ten, a flip. No upsets going on. We got number 1 Minnesota versus number 2 Michigan. I'm gonna roll with the blue. Let's go Michigan. I can't pick Minnesota. And then in the CCHA, we got number 1 Mankato versus number 4 Northern Michigan. Cannot pick Northern Michigan. We're going with Mankato. I hope they finally get it done. I want to see Northern Michigan gone. ECAC, we got Quinnipiac, number 1 versus number 5 Colgate. I'm going to go with Quinnipiac. And number 3 Cornell versus number 2 Harvard. I'm going to go with Harvard. The finals on it'll be Quinnipiac versus Harvard, and I'll go with Harvard. Let's have a little fun. Let's go Harvard with the upset there. But number 2, so not really an upset. Hockey East. Semifinals are number 1 Boston University versus number 7 Providence, and number 2 Merrimack versus number 4 UMass Lowell. Boston University. And then we move on to the Women's Frozen Four. Ohio State advancing out of the Columbus region. Northeastern coming out of New Haven versus Yale. Minnesota coming out of the Minneapolis regional. And Wisconsin coming out of the one up there against Colgate. I don't know where Colgate is. The one up in New York.
Yeah, 2 out of 4 right, I believe.
You did do pretty well.
Yeah.
I did not. I did do all right. I got Ohio State. I got Northeastern. So, I did all right. Not happy Minnesota made it. I thought UMD would pull it off. UMD just could not hang with Minnesota. They are not the team that made the Frozen Four the back-to-back years, the last 2. They just were outmatched. Minnesota was the much better hockey team. And in terms of picks, I'm going to go Ohio State, and I'm going to go Wisconsin. And to win the championship, I'm going to go Ohio State. I think Ohio State goes back-to-back. In terms of who I want to see win, I want to see Northeastern. But I think that it's going to be Ohio State.
I disagree with you. I think it's going to be Wisconsin to win it. But like you, I'd like to see Northeastern win if Wisconsin does not beat Minnesota. But if it's an Ohio State-Wisconsin matchup, I'm taking Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm leaning it's probably going to be a Minnesota and Ohio State, but I'm going to pick Wisconsin. But all 3 teams, they're really strong. Sophie Jakes from Ohio State, Taylor Heisey, Grace Zumwinkle from Minnesota, Caroline Harvey at Wisconsin, who's in the thumbnail for this week's episode. Just WCHA, very strong conference for quality talent with Team USA. A lot of those. Well, I'm pretty sure every name I just named there on Team USA.
I believe so.
The only one maybe Sophie Jakes might be Canadian. But for sure Taylor Heisey, for sure Grace Zumwinkle, and for sure Caroline Harvey. And that's not even just that's just the 3 teams here. You look at UMD, they got Ashton Bell, Emma Soderberg, both Olympians. It's just outstanding conference talent-wise, and they're going to be on display this weekend at AMSOIL, as all 4 teams do battle, and we got 3 WCHA teams in the mix, and that's that's how it works. The WCHA runs women's college hockey. UMD, the 5-time champs. Minnesota and Wisconsin basically sweeping up the rest, and then Ohio State with their one that they won last year, and then Clarkson really getting in there is the outside influence. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun Frozen Four. It'd be much more fun if UMD was playing on home ice in it, but they're not. So yeah, good luck to all those ladies as they meet in Duluth for the chance to win the national title.
Yeah.
And I got your back, Northeastern. All right. Then we'll move on. We just want to talk about the March Madness here quick, and everything. So men's Final Four, Dale. Yours already busted. So in our
Yeah,
junior and junior group, so you're gonna have to go with a different Final Four, huh? Because you had Virginia winning the national title, and they just got upset.
I did, yeah, which was disappointing because I expected Virginia to, and they're a 4 seed, so they're not like they're a 1 seed where you kind of anticipate it. Like you always see the one in the championship mostly. So having a 4 seed kind of gives you a good odds. I thought I had good odds, but as of right now, just let me pull up my bracket quick. And I also had West Virginia that lost, so that's yeah. This whole bracket is just screwed. But my final four, I feel like I'm still set. It's going to, I feel like, be Kansas and Iowa are still two teams that I have left. Tennessee, I also have. And I'll pick Alabama. I think it'll be Alabama, Tennessee, Iowa, Kansas final four. And then I will pick Kansas, Tennessee, and have Tennessee beat Kansas in the championship game.
All right. Um, I'm gonna stick with the four I had coming in. None of them yet to lose. Could change tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got Alabama versus Purdue, and I got Houston versus UConn. I got Purdue over Alabama, and I got UConn over Houston, with Purdue ultimately winning the national title.
Yeah. See, like I feel like Purdue and a couple of those other 1 seeds are good teams, but I feel like what we saw with Virginia that one of these teams are gonna lose their luck to like one of the lower seeded teams. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Alabama's a 1 seed. I'm going to let them go through. But, I guess
like
Purdue
right
could
now with a
fall.
minute 25 left, 58-53 games, 5 San Diego State is losing or is winning over number 12 Charleston. Um, Princeton is only down 5 to number 2 Arizona. So a 15 seed is within 5 points of Arizona with about 17 minutes left. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can happen, like what you were saying. But I think Alabama ultimately goes through. I think they're a team that is kind of untouchable or unstoppable. But I think there then comes a point where they make one wrong decision or one wrong mistake in the game, and that'll tilt the game the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
And then that moves us on to the women's. And the women's was quite easy for me. Um, Dale, who do you have?
All right, people. I have the women's tournament. I have the one, the only UConn winning it all.
Who you got in the final four?
I got South Carolina. I got Stanford. So I got the 1 seeds. I got UConn, and then I also got actually no, I don't got the 1 seeds. I got the Lady Vols in the final four.
Okay.
So I got Tennessee, UConn, Stanford, and South Carolina, and it's ultimately going to be Stanford, UConn, with UConn taking the win.
Yeah. So I had a couple tough Elite Eights I had to choose between. I had South Carolina and Notre Dame. I like both those teams' chances to be in the Final Four. I ultimately went with South Carolina. And I had Stanford versus Iowa. And I ultimately think that Caitlin Clark's going to get it done for Iowa and send them to the Final Four to set up a matchup there between South Carolina and Iowa. The other two weren't so hard for me. I went with number one Indiana, and I went with the number two UConn. And I'm ultimately expecting to see an Iowa UConn matchup with previously mentioned Caitlin Clark getting it done for the Hawkeyes over the Huskies there in the finals. Iowa national champions.
Nice.
I could have went with UConn. I would have went with UConn if they had Paige Buckets, but because she's out, I'm going with Iowa. But UConn, strong team. They got quite a few potential first round picks in the upcoming WNBA draft. They could easily get it done. They're 2 seed though. I think that I don't know. Hey, I'm not questioning it. I'm not questioning my decision. I think two seeds are going to be in the finals. I think Iowa gets it done. I think Caitlin Clark cements a resume worthy of being the number one overall pick, and I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
And with that figured out, guys, we're going to go quickly to an ad break. When we come back, we will conclude the show by talking about Taylor Swift's Midnight's 3 a.m. edition, Jared's version. All right, guys, be right back. We are back, folks, and Dale has to apologize to you. He's always having to give apologies.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, folks, but I just read it, and you can't have a UConn Tennessee Final Four matchup. They would meet in the Elite Eight. So ultimately, my Elite Eight is set as South Carolina versus Southern Utah. A 14 seed makes it all the way to the Elite Eight. Got something magical going on there. Stanford, Iowa, Indiana, Utah, Tennessee, UConn. And then out of that, the final four that I have set: South Carolina, Stanford, UConn, Utah. So it's the battle of the U's and the S's. So us. And yeah, it's going to be like I said, UConn Stanford championship game with UConn winning.
Okay. Fair. Fair. So, Dale,
Yes.
it's time for our album review. This is one that we have talked about before. Um, we got Midnights from Taylor Swift. We talked about this all the way back when it first came out in October, I believe. Yes, October. Came out towards the end of the month. We talked about this back on our October episode. So, it's time to look at it again. Um, yeah, you want to kick us off, Dale? I got a lot to say. So
You got a lot to say. It's Jared's review. It's Jared's show. It's all you this week.
it's
I,
not
I've been,
all me this week. That doesn't say
I've
Jared
been
and
busy
Jared.
at work, and I didn't get a chance. I will admit, I didn't get a chance to listen to Midnights, but it's Jared's show, Jared's time, Jared's edition.
No, I ain't hearing this shit. You don't have time to listen to it. You listened to it back in October. back in October.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember a song I listened to back in October.
You don't keep notes of every episode so you know what you said?
No.
Oh, folks, he's so unprofessional. So unprofessional. All right.
Pull it up. All right, give me one sec.
No, I mean, it's fine. I just thought that maybe you had your notes of what you said last time so you knew what you said, like, for favorite and least favorite.
Oh, no, yeah, I know favorite and least favorite.
Oh, that's all I'm asking.
Oh, okay, yeah. Favorite is, Labyrinth, no, Mastermind, the last one's my favorite is Mastermind, and my least favorite, I don't know, probably Questions. I didn't like that one too much. I was very questioning that song the whole time.
All right. Well, God, how the tables have turned. When we first talked about this album all the way back in October when it first came out, I gave it a perfect 5 out of 5. Would be a 10 out of 10 now on the new scale. And really, I think that was a lot to do with new album feeling. it was all I was listening to at the time. It was the newest thing out. I had listened to it like 10, 15 times before we reviewed it, and now my feelings are a little different on it. I still really like Midnight's. I still think Midnight's is a very, very solid album. But I don't think it's Taylor Swift's best. I think that if I was, now, like, this is the time. If I'm doing the rankings of every Taylor Swift album, they're all reviewed now. I think Red's on top. I think Red would have been on top before Midnight's came out, and I think that it is now. I think that that's the easy choice for me. At a 9 out of 10, I think Midnight's more drops to maybe a 7, maybe an 8 range. High 7, low 8. That's just my opinion. I believe, to quote me, I said that Midnight's was a 13 out of 10 back then. I don't know. I mean, I still like the fact that Midnight's, as Taylor says, covers the sleepless nights of her life where she stayed up thinking about these things. And I still think that it's not essentially an album that holds a skip, but there is songs that, like, I don't really need to hear anymore. And the one that I probably had the biggest change on would be Vigilante Shit. I love that album. It was one of my, or that song. I loved it when the album first came out. I thought it was one of the better ones. Now I think it's a bottom tier song. I don't think it's that good. I see what Andrew was saying about it when we originally reviewed Midnight's. And then in terms of, like, my favorites, I think that some that have stayed consistent. I think Anti-Hero was number 1 last time it stayed up there. I believe High Infidelity was one of them. That's at 6 now. Fell out of the top 3-ish range. But, like, in the top 3, I got Maroon. I got Karma now with Anti-Hero. What else worth note here? 4, Bejeweled. I love Bejeweled. Then I still love it now. You're on Your Own, Kid, I think moved up a lot. I really like that song now. And the last one I really want to give like an actual call out to would be Hits Different. We obviously didn't review that last time. And Dale hasn't heard it, but I since went out and bought the Midnight's CD from Target to hear Hits Different, and I think it was worth it. I think that's a solid song. I just wish that we could get it on streaming so I could listen to it more often, because I don't want to have to pop in the CD every time I want to listen to it. But it's a good album still. It just isn't quite what it was when I first talked about it. It isn't quite that amazing album, and it's on me. I think it's on me that I said it was such a good album. That I think that this is a reappraisal that I'm happy I'm getting to do. I'm getting to change my public opinion on the album, which is something that I would like to do with some albums. Like Patient Number 9 from Ozzy Osbourne, I think got a much more favorable review when we did it than it would now. I think that I would drop that a couple tallies, and I think it helps that we're an out of 10 now system, because you don't feel like a 4 out of 5 is too low, and you got to go all the way up, or a 3 out of 5 is too low. You can kind of play a little bit more with the system. But yeah, it's not quite the album it was last time, but it's still a very solid album. I would go 8 out of 10, I think. And I think if I'm giving my final rankings, because now's the time. Now's when you do it, Every album out of the way. Give the final rankings. Put the lid on the eras of T Swift, the tour of the eras of T Swift here. Right before the Eras tour begins in Glendale, with the show at State Farm Stadium tomorrow. I think I would go should I start from 1 or should I start from 10? I don't. What do you think, Dale? 1 or 10?
10.
10? Okay. We'll count up. Alright. We'll go at 10. Fearless, Taylor's version, a 7 out of 10. 9, Lover, a 7 out of 10. 8, Evermore, an 8 out of 10. 7, Folklore, an 8 out of 10. 6, Midnight's 3 a.m. edition, 8 out of 10. 5, 1989, 8 out of 10. 4, Debut, aka Taylor Swift, 8 out of 10. 3, Reputation, 8 out of 10. 2, Speak Now, 9 out of 10. And number 1, the top album, I think, in Taylor Swift's entire discography, Red, Taylor's version, 9.5 out of 10. I think that's her crown jewel. I'm sorry, Miss Swift, that I knocked it off the top there for a second, but it's back up there. I think that's her best album.
So with this tour, what album or what songs is she focusing on the most? I guess.
Fuck if I know. She hasn't played a show yet. How do I know what she's focusing on?
Well, no. I was just asking, like, if she like rumored or gave any hints to like what she thinks she's.
I can tell you what she's not going to focus on, and that's going to be Evermore, because she doesn't like Evermore. That's the only thing I can tell you. I don't know. We'll have to see tomorrow. I hope that. I obviously, personal opinion, I hope Red gets a lot of love, but I think her entire discography is so good that really, what I hope is that she mixes it up well. I hope she plays a lot of singles, but also plays a lot of deep cuts that the real Swifties will appreciate, because I'm going to see her play all her music, not just the hits that the hipsters know, you know? So, I hope she plays a few deep cuts that I'll appreciate getting to hear live. But we'll see. We'll get a better gauge of how the tour is really going to play out when it starts tomorrow. And then in June, I will get to come back with my thoughts on the tour. I'll let you guys know after I've been to the show what I thought about how it all went down. But with that, guys. Relatively short show. We did it, Dale. We did it. We kept the show short.
Under an hour. I believe we started, if I'm not mistaken, at about...
The show is about 38 minutes this week, Dale.
I think that's a new record, but we gotta go back and maybe look later. But I think that's a new record.
Hey, we're running about an hour 40 the last 2 weeks. We're down again. This is about the sweet spot. I want to hit about 40 minutes, hour tops. Love this.
Take that, Mike Greenberg. Take that, Max Kellerman. Take that, Stephen A. Take that, Skip Bayless. Take that, Shannon Sharp. We destroyed you this week.
We did.
Destroyed you.
Yeah, and with that, guys, we will see you right back here next week. Back to 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, Dale?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Back to 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Dogs Maniac Entertainment YouTube channel. I've been Jared Ronning.
I've been Dale Summerfield Jr.
Yeah, well, fine. I've been Jared Ryan Jr. He's been Dale Summerfield
Summerfield Jr.
And we will see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. Oh, we'll get